me recognize the presence of Principal Dale Weber. For many of you, Prof has probably been at every launch for the last 10 years. I, however, welcome you, and I'm sure we welcome you, to the first launch as principal, to what is now your event instead of the events you used to help put on and support. And a warm welcome to our guest speaker, Mrs. Miriam something Robinson, who is manager of First Global and who is here to share with us. As everybody knows, an important aspect of Research Day have been our partnerships, and this allows us to forge yet another partnership. Sir Kenneth? You did it again. Sir Kenneth, you are special. This is your baby. As we celebrate 20 years of Research Day, we welcome you particularly and thank you for the vision of 20 years ago. As we go through the Research Days, you will hear more and more about this activity that you gave birth to that has now become a standard part. You too have been here, certainly ever since I have been standing at this podium. So I suspect you've been here for most of the 20 years. Thank you. This year's presentation is underpinned, reinforced by Mona's mission to demonstrate relevance to the national agenda. Sir Ken reminded me that much of how Research Day started was that reference by a commentator to the intellectual ghetto. And it has been our response by demonstrating that we're not, in fact, just an intellectual ghetto. So this year, as you will see in our program, as we have been doing for the last few years, we have focused on the growth agenda, Jamaica's growth agenda, and also the Caribbean growth agenda. We are a regional institution, and therefore we have focused on that. And therefore, this year, we will highlight the Sustainable Development Goals, and Vision 2030 is our partner throughout the exhibition and to the days. So we celebrate 20 years of Research Day with this presentation, and I welcome you to this media launch, which will sort of begin to whet the appetites. I welcome the deans. I welcome our faculty leads. An event such as this, the magnitude of it clearly is not one man. We have a 26-man committee, and then we have subcommittees. There's Mrs. Mangaroo with grad studies, for example, who is with us today. But all our faculty leads, I think I see all of you, our deans, with the exception of Dean Tennant, who has sent apologies. Another feature of this year is our undergrads. I welcome our postgrads, but I also particularly welcome our undergrads because we have now brought them into the fold of Research Day. So I'm not really the one to welcome you. So having given you my opening remarks, let me invite Principal Weber, who, as I say, certainly has been my partner throughout the journey from I took over organizing this some years ago, and when he left us, because he left us for a while, but he went across the road, and as PBC Grad Studies and Research was very influential and helpful to us. So I think we welcome him in his capacity as our new principal, but equally in his capacity as a committed researcher. Welcome, Prof. Weber.
21 years ago, then Principal Professor Kenneth Hall had a dream. You know that I had a dream. Well, that dream was to put research in a different location. It was to take greater focus on research through demonstrating what we had done and what we could do. Admin staff, technical staff, graduate students, academic staff, all together. That first Research Day was a one day. It was barely a day. It was like 6 hours in the Assembly Hall. We all kind of watched with trepidation. What was going to happen? Was anybody going to come? The first thing we learned is that Research Day is about sharing. And we learned what each other had to do and what we were doing in each faculty. That first research day has now mushroomed into a 3-day research days, and there's a temptation for it to become a research week, but we need to hold on to that because there's a lot we need to work with. It marks an opportunity for us to look at what we've done, to celebrate and showcase our collective excellence, and look at what this premier university has been able to do. It also allows introspection, it allows an rejuvenation, because we do need to retailor what we do to various circumstances. Over the 70 years, the University of the West Indies has grown, but it's over the last 20 years that we've been able to demonstrate it and make the linkages grow. Research and innovation is a centerpiece of the University of the West Indies, Mona campus, and it takes us on our transformational agenda. Our commitment and impact to national, regional, and global development is only surpassed by our cutting-edge research solutions fostered by our research interests and our pursuits. As research is at the heart of what we do, our mandate is teaching, research, and outreach. It is important to note that that research underpins our teaching, because it is a university that allows you to research today, and today's research is a part of tomorrow's lecture. Many other institutions will have to wait a year, 3 years, 5 years for current research to become publications that are in print that you can now validate. So we have a valuable role to play in ensuring that the research gets to the teaching, and we're committed to both. So here I am as principal of the Mona campus. Let me pause and take that in. It's taken a while getting used to. Hosting my first research days. It is a proud and fulfilling moment. It is a moment I never dreamt of, but one I accept and one I embrace. I'm excited to be here and share just a fraction of what you will see in 3 weeks' time, which is a fraction of what the university has to offer, because in no research day can we put all our research out there. In fact, the research team that puts together Research Day, I know they have a hard task trying to filter out what goes in this year. Oh, we saw some of this last year. It's still current, it's still valid, it's still doing what it's supposed to do. But let's see if we can highlight something else, somebody else. As a young researcher, I can recall being selected to display my work at Research Day. It was an honor. And while I was told you must, make your presentation, you go up there to defend it, my supervisor told me, no, you don't defend your work. You attack with your work because you want everybody to know. Well, Research Day created that opportunity, Professor Hall, in that we now were able to talk to all the faculties, able to talk to all of Jamaica, and with the media that we have now, talk to all the world, which allows the university to fulfill its mandate of being an excellent global university rooted in the Caribbean. So Research Day has yet another role to play. The Mona campus will continue to do research, and we would like to be the engine of research. We would like to place our research at the disposal of all who need it. Using our AAA strategy, that is access, alignment, and agility, we would like greater access to the research that we do by all who want it. Those who would like to have research, rather than creating your own research and development department sections and spending a lot of money on it, for a fraction of what you are now doing, I guarantee you the University of the West Indies can do that research. We would like to have you access our research, our researchers, as you try to find those answers. Second is alignment, in that we want to align our research with the needs of the public and private sector. We want to ask those questions that you want us to ask so that we can get the right answers for you. But we need to do this in a far more agile way, which is our third A, which allows us to do research, get the results out there, get it publishable, get it usable by both those who wish to have it and those who are doing the research, because that's been a bugbear in the past. And our new mechanisms allow us to do that. For instance, to publish by manuscript, where a thesis can be done by a student and you can publish it and you can get a publication before you get the PhD, so that the research can be made available to whichever company needs it. The impact of research is manifested by Research Days and how relevant Research Days have become. So you've heard that I've been a partner with Professor Elder Mayashir, and when she came up with the idea of the policy wall 5 years ago, that for us became the turning point. Because while the 20 years allows us a good vision of where the university research has gone, the policy wall allowed us to connect the dots. How did research actually make policy? And that's very valuable. It's always been happening, but we've never highlighted it, we've never put it front and center. So we started 5 years ago doing it faculty by faculty, and I'm very pleased to say that this, my first year as principal, my first research days as principal, and the 20th year, science and technology is on display. But we'll come back to that. I see the dean coming through the door of science and technology, and we're doing science and technology to policy this year. The problem is, however, how long does it take for policy to be influenced by science, to be influenced by academic research? We found that it could take as much as 12 years. For instance, the change in the CXC history syllabus took a 12-year study to move from the research to get to history of the Caribbean being taught as the mainstream. Climate change took only 3 years, so maybe we're getting better. But we need to get to the point where today's research is available for the decision makers tomorrow. Now, I can't tell you that they will change their decisions, but it will no longer be a decision in ignorance, and that must be our goal. Interestingly, this Research Day 2019 allows us to look at a link back. So we're looking at Vision 2030, and we found that over 50 researchers from the university have contributed either to the overall plan or to the thematic working groups that have promulgated out of Vision 2030. We found that the 17 Sustainable Development Goals are all on track with university research. In fact, you will find as you go to the Research Village in 3 weeks that there are 4 thematic areas that our research has impacted significantly. Good health and well-being, quality education, life below water, yes, and peace, justice, and strong institutions, where the UWI research has been driving social and economic development over the years, and we've now been able to make the manifestation. You will also find that instead of a faculty presentation, which is how we've done it in the past, we've been moving gradually, and this year I think Professor Eldemar Sher and our team have made that jump to take us to a completely thematic presentation. You will find 6 themes: education and culture, energy and the environment and resource-based industries, law, governance, security, and society, supporting industries, institutions, and infrastructure, pharmaceutical and nutraceuticals, and health and well-being, and finally, service and knowledge-based industries. Since science is at the root of this year's Research Days policy wall, I would like to thank the Faculty of Science and Technology for stepping up, because as a scientist myself, I know that we very often hide what we do, and we're so busy doing other things that we never ever put it forward. So I'm calling this the Science Policy Wall this year. I've seen 14 examples that will allow you to see how policies have been influenced by research. The key to research, of course, is asking the right questions and conducting the research in a transparent manner, and most importantly, being willing to interrogate whatever results you get, because the results may not be as you expected, but the results are the results, and you must work with what you have. Remember the Karl Popper quote: "The wrong view of science betrays itself in craving to be right. For it is not his possession of knowledge of irrefutable truth that makes the man or woman of science, but his persistent and reckless critical quest for that truth." We are on that quest, and we must move forward. So I welcome you to this media launch as you whet your appetite for a 3-week wonder as to what will be happening on the 6th to 8th of February. You will see snippets around the display area as we end today, but I invite you to come back to the full Research Days, and going forward, we would like Research Days not just to be a 3-day as a demonstration, but we'd like Research Days to be continuous throughout our faculties, throughout the university, throughout the country, and throughout the region. Thank you very much. We look forward to your contribution as you come and see UWI driving research for social and economic development. Welcome to you all.
One of the things that has been our challenge over the years is communicating what we do to people. We can communicate to researchers and to scientists and academics. By the way, Wari, I do consider people in the humanities scientists. They are scientists of culture. So when I say scientists, I do include you.
Thank you.
Right. I have to know which side my bread butter upon. But it has been a challenge. Paula Ann had to work with me for a long time, because if you ask me a question, you got a lecture. She said, I need 30-second bites. Well, it was just as challenging for us, and I can tell you, we have been in the village and academics have removed their poster. They've actually come, Lisa will tell you, and removed it from the wall because that's not scientific enough. Because we have converted it to language that persons can understand. People are now understanding that you have to have language you can understand to get funding, because your funders aren't scientists, so they have to understand the impact. So, over the 3-day period, we have 80-odd events. We have activities in the village, which is our flagship exhibition. This year, we're going to have, and I'm going to say barcodes, and they're going to tell me that's not what I'm to say. However, principle in keeping with the effort, what is it, G codes? G something? QR codes. Well, why you all never helped me long time?
We have to be sure we're talking about the same thing.
One of the challenges that I have been given over the years is this is a 3-day event. We have to make sure it's a 352-day event. Therefore, the QR codes that will be one way. That's one of our ways. By the way, I did not welcome the diaspora. I do welcome the diaspora because we are streaming. So sorry, I should have done that in my welcome. So we have, as has been said, the theme, driving social and economic development. We are, as Sir Ken reminded me yesterday, a public institution. Not only public in terms of the fact that we receive government funding, but we serve the public. And therefore, we have a right to explain to people what their children are coming here to do. You know, you spend a lot of money nowadays to send somebody to university, and you come from Warsaw in your agricultural fields. So part of our mission is to explain to this parent that this is a good investment, so start earlier for the next one. So we are driving social and economic development. There's a synergy with Jamaica, with Vision 2030 and the Sustainable Development Goals. We will have signature events, and I will mention a couple of them. The signature events allow each faculty to choose what it would like to showcase and how it would like to shine. So there is individual faculties, although we have gone to the thematic thing, but the thematic approach is actually strengthening because no man is an island unto himself. And therefore, by going through the thematic approach, we will actually indicate which faculty is doing what. I have come to appreciate that aging is not a health-related matter. In fact, it may be more important for the economists than it might be for the health professionals. So it's broadening all of us in terms of a multidisciplinary approach. We have become more and more interactive, so you can actually, we're going to have fair exhibits. Yes. Wait and see what happens. Last year we had the satellite roaming and Dr. Harris is here. This year we're going to have drones, and the drones could be over Riverton City or over the coffee trees up in. So we're showing the practicality. They're also challenging me. We also have, each faculty has its program, workshops, book launches, lectures, seminars. So we have our official opening and the principal's tour with that. We also have the principal's annual award. In recognition of the 20th anniversary, we produced the book, Research for Development. That book is, I believe, close to 200 pages this year. Yes. 189 so far, and we haven't put in the forward. So we really have research. And as you say, we had to select, because we had to say to people, you're going to next year. So I think you're going to be pleased at the research this year, certainly the increase and a number. We will have, and we're very proud of this, as I'm sure Dean Paul is. And by the way, all of our deans are now here with us. Let me just point that out. Engineering, so I saw engineering. He's not sitting down, but he's here. He's at the back. Yes, there he is. But this is one that, and here I confess I do come from FMS. We are going to have this year a very special inaugural professorial lecture, the first professor of nursing. So Dr. Kawa will do her lecture. We are going to have public forums in law. Law has always brought us moot court and whatnot. This year, just to whet your appetite, they're bringing us Petrojam. We will take on any topic of significance and interest. We also have a number of activities for the students. Social sciences is going to bring together experts for young people to discuss and exchange ideas. In addition, we're going to have cross-university, virtual coming together of the young people. And by the way, for all of you in the room, I'm told that young people now is up to 35. The definition of young people for this seminar is up to 35. And the group, the climate change, it's a climate change forum and how it impacts the Caribbean. And this is going to be, again, we'll involve the diaspora, and this one will be virtual and all campuses. I got it after. So we'll have, you know, yes, we're academic, but we live in an environment. Unfortunately, we live in a fairly hostile environment situated between Papine and Augustown. And we have an entity, and Dr. Burke, she's here somewhere, I saw her. We have this incredible, what do we call it, a department, a facility of the Mona campus, which is working with these communities. We now give scholarships, etc. So they will also present on our contribution. This is a true contribution to development, trying to help inner cities. We actually have a MPhil PhD student on scholarship this year from Augustown. So we must recognize inner city persons are just as important contributors to nation building. And we as a university that sit in the middle of two fairly poor areas must play our role. And we do that through Mona Social Services in other ways. There's Professor Boxhill's TV program, etc. So we have many ways. This is the feature this year. We will look at, I mentioned the book, I mentioned the outstanding researchers. These are the research sections that Principal already mentioned. He's already mentioned our policy wall in 2019, which is, he's very proud. You know, it's incredible. When we started rotating the faculties 5 years ago, who would have predicted that Dale Weber would have been the principal the year of FST's highlighting? So we didn't set this up. We started this rotation 5. It's just like last year when we were celebrating 70 years. It happened to be medicine. That was the policy wall, which was the first faculty. So somebody's looking after us. We are a university. We are the university that has a strong graduate program. It is our graduate program that sets us apart from the other universities. And clearly, we therefore ensure that in any activity that we have, our graduates are a critical and large component. We therefore have our graduate wall of excellence, which will have our PhDs. We have 8 high commendations that we can display this year, as well as others. We have a graduate lounge that Mrs. Mangaroo will organize and facilitate, and throughout the tent you will see the work of supervisors. We have, as I mentioned earlier, we now this year also have our undergrads with us, and I welcome the guild of the president of the guild, who has been an important part of our planning. He was preempting us. So, as the principal said, come and join us. I can only give you snippets. I can only whet your appetite and hope that you will come and join us to actually see what is happening. Now, as I mentioned, we we can't do this alone. We can't. We need partners. We need government partners, and we have Vision 2030 on board with us. And I thank Liz Emanuel in her absence. She has been, well, we were boot camp partners together, and that's where the relationship began. So Liz has been along with us throughout this, helping us to plan, and will be part of it. But the private sector is an important part and an important partner. We're very fortunate that Mrs. McIntosh Robinson has accepted to be our speaker. She's the Chief Executive Officer and President at First Global. She served as Senior Vice President of Portland Private Equity. She's worked as a management component around the world, advising CEOs of Fortune companies. So we will welcome any advice you give us. We're not good managers, at least. No, I'll leave worry out of this. Those of us in science are not good managers. We need people to manage us. I told you I'll leave you out of that one. Right? And she has worked around, as I say, in New York, etc. She has electrical engineering, engineering from MIT. She has a degree in economics from Oxford. She was Jamaica's Rhodes Scholar, and she is married with a son. So help me to welcome Mrs. McIntosh Robinson.
Professor Dale Weber, Principal. Sir Kenneth Hall, former Principal and former Governor General. Professor Boxhill, Deputy Principal. Professor Eldemar Shearer, Chair of our Research Days Steering Committee. Deans, Deputy Deans, support team, members of the Steering Committee, media, students, ladies and gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning.
I think, good morning still. Yes, good morning. And it will be morning when I'm finished, yes. So today I was asked to speak about how evidence-based research can be invaluable to strategic decision-making in the business world. So let me start by saying, for about 8 years, I was a strategy management consultant, and Fortune 500 firms would hire us as consultants to solve tough business problems. Some of the most valuable insights we would provide for our clients was really primary and secondary research via surveys, interviews, focus groups, experiments, etc. These companies, in fact, paid top dollar for our recommendations. And oftentimes, what we delivered was evidence-based research to help our clients with sound decision-making and to outperform their competitors. If we think about some of the most transformative companies, such as the Apples, the Googles, the Amazons, these companies employ rich data to make bold, innovative moves as part of their growth strategy. So given how valuable this is, why don't we see more entities using this approach? And by the way, just in simple business speak, when we talk about evidence-based research, we really mean using a fact-based, data-driven approach to decision-making. All right, so two of the most common obstacles cited. One, there's limited or no data. And in fact, this problem is particularly acute in our region. A majority of our businesses are small and medium-sized entities, and they may not prioritize research or the sharing of data with external parties to build a sector view. Point number two, the lack of discipline to take the fact-based research and to implement an action plan to see the benefits. In fact, ladies and gentlemen, you find that when the consequences are high of the wrong strategic decisions, such as introducing a new drug, sending a person to the moon, as most recently illustrated in the Hidden Figures movies. Everybody who saw Hidden Figures? Know what I'm talking about? Good, I wasn't sure. There is great emphasis there on evidence-based research to inform decisions. I call these situations transformative, one of great change. In order for Jamaica to achieve sustainable growth And to be more globally competitive, it is important for our private and public sector entities to innovate and transform ever so often versus staying with the business as usual approach. We can all think of many areas in our society thirsty for change and transformation. And evidence-based research to drive decision-making is a necessary ingredient for this transformation. Let me give you a quick example. So as an example, we decided at First Global Bank to pursue a financial inclusion strategy predicated on serving the mass market, as our initial research showed that approximately 30% of Jamaicans were unbanked or underbanked. The research also indicated that many of these individuals did not trust banks. Can you imagine? Just kidding. Yeah, I know. As such, we developed and implemented our community banking model for rural Jamaica. We had two models, in fact. The first was our satellite branches. These were branches that were situated within a community business. The second was agency banking. This is where FGB would ask another business, say a supermarket or a remittance business, to offer banking services on our behalf. So it would be referred to as third-party banking services. And so the person in the community can come into the business that they normally frequent, and they can do their banking services over the counter, withdrawals, deposits, they can check their balances, and they can make payments. This was a fundamental shift in the First Global Bank strategy. Initially, we relied on data, advice, and input from our sister financial companies who serve this market very well. And our strategic focus was really to grow our deposit base. As we proceeded with our pilot at a couple locations and started to gather more evidence-based research, we realized a couple things. Number one, customers really wanted loans, not deposit solutions. Can relate? Number two, for customers to open accounts with us, we needed to provide incentives because we were changing or interrupting their regular routine. So we tweaked our strategy and focused on loan products such as our Handy Help loan for household workers and gardeners. Just to describe the product, with this loan, a household worker or gardener can borrow up to $150,000 unsecured with their employer as a guarantor. Now, some employers, especially if you're going to be the guarantor, would say, I would just lend my household worker or gardener the money. But ladies and gentlemen, if they come to the bank, what are they able to do? Develop a credit history. And that allows them future expansion as they go forward in life. So we realized with this data that we needed to focus on loans, and in doing so, we needed to create products that were specific as possible to groups addressing needs. Although the data from our sister company had been invaluable, the research we had really needed to zoom in on was from a banking standpoint, to really understand how customers interacted and viewed our sector. Based on these tweaks, we've seen our greatest growth come from our loans over our deposits. So taking an evidence-based research approach allows entities to innovate without A, spending more money than required or spending it on the wrong things, B, creating solutions that do not effectively address a pain point, and C, preventing, right? Allowing bias to creep in, thus limiting our full understanding of the pain points to be addressed. In an emerging market like ours, where costs can be a prohibitive factor in our decision-making, should private and nonprofit entities be responsible for evidence-based research at all times? Or should this be outsourced to our learning institutions for which this is a core business? Jamaica is on a growth path, and to ensure that this growth is sustainable, I am challenging myself. No, I'm just kidding. I am challenging the private and public sector to increase its collaboration with learning institutions such as UWI and others, and to make more investment in research that can drive profitable business outcomes. And in fact, it is within this context that I'd like to share a dream that I have with you. Kind of like, I have a dream? I have a dream. I'm not sure if it'll really come to fruition, but I don't mind if someone else implements it, but this is my dream. Now, I call this dream the Tech School Incubator Model. And I didn't realize the policy wall for 2019 was science and technology, so this is great. The dream is the Tech School Incubator Model. So come along with me. Now, as the world proceeds towards the fourth industrial revolution, which is where the physical, virtual, and biological spheres intersect, and as technology continues to play an increasingly relevant roles in our lives, so many for-profit and non-profit entities are going through a digital transformation. You guys all know people who are working at companies that are going through a digital transformation to ensure that they're either not disrupted or that they stay relevant and ahead of the competition. In fact, two entities I am closely involved with, First Global Bank / the Grace Kennedy Group and United Way, are both in the midst of a digital transformation. So imagine a Jamaica where there was a premier technology school that offered our youth a range of technology courses, from short ones to multi-year degrees. The school would have a sister company, which is the incubator. Students would work at the incubator. Companies in Jamaica would outsource their digital and technology projects to the incubator. The income earned by the incubator from the companies could subsidize the tuition for the students at the school, making it affordable for most Jamaicans to attend and making our Jamaican youth globally competitive. This would be a model partnership of academia and private sector coming together to leverage what each is good at, with the broader benefit of growth, employment, and competitiveness for our country. I ask you all to think of what academia, private sector partnerships are missing, because we know they exist. What's missing that could accelerate the impact on our society today? Again, notwithstanding that some of this is already happening, I ask you to think of this and start the dialogue to move this forward. In closing, I just want to take the time to thank UWI and other institutions for continuing to keep research and Research Day at the forefront of Jamaican discourse, and for all that you do in helping to move this great nation forward. Have an excellent research week in 3 weeks, focused on driving research for social and economic development. Thank you very much.
I'm going to ask Dr. McLaughlin to stand up, because Maury finally is about to get alive. So this will also be part of your project. So this is the new head. And I want to acknowledge the Deputy Bursar, who I give a lot of problems to. In fact, I've given him some instructions that he has to take, what to do before 4 o'clock.
That's a new boss, right?
Let us see. And as in my closing remarks, because we're going to invite you over there, and we will ask that you, I know that Principal and Mrs. McIntosh Robinson will be spending a couple of minutes with us. So if we have some of our media people or some who want to engage in a particular question, please do. We won't do it as an open thing, because I think maybe the one-on-one is better. But I also want to thank Mrs. Supersad, because the team actually has another support person. I bet you don't even know that. So she's been sending out some of the emails, and it was refreshing this morning to see that we also got a reminder. So thank you, Arlene. And my final comment in terms of the closing remarks, we really are emphasizing policy. UWI can only drive and can only support development if it transfers to policy. And therefore, in addition to the science and technology policy wall, and the graduate students wall, we also have the historical one. So for our doubters about the intellectual ghetto and the Botswana bends, and yes, we do respond to these things, we also have the historical wall to show where we are coming from. Let us not forget that with all of the great work in climate change as an example, we've always been doing it. We have a Nobel Peace Prize in Professor Chen. So this is something we have done. But as one prime minister told me, we have managed at UWI over the years to be the best kept secret that there is. This is our effort to get the secret out, and you are our missionaries. Thank you. So can I thank our guest speaker? You are awesome. The Dean of Social Sciences is not here because he's actually doing something Principal asked him to do. Can I invite you to have a conversation with him, because they did something for NCB along the lines that you are speaking. And just to reinforce, nobody knows our social determinants and our social peculiarities, and we do have them, better than us. UWI is able to do the research. We're actually doing something now with the Acorn Group and productivity based on last year's research. So just engage us. We are willing to be engaged. That is our mission, and together we can do it. So I want to thank you. You've actually left us with 2 ideas, but one we're going to hold you to. One we're going, right, Paul? Because that tech and incubator is definite. Awesome. I'm going to thank the principal for being here with us and for his media launch of what is his first day, research day as principal, his umpteenth research day as a researcher. And most importantly, I want to thank the team, I want to thank the media. It's a media launch, and I want to thank the team that has put together this media launch, led by Mrs. Paula Ann Porter-Jones. And there's a whole host of persons who are integral. String Bean, Andre. There's all sorts of the teams that are back there, the researchers, the exhibitors that are here, and most importantly, you for being with us. Let me invite you to view the exhibits on that side, to have refreshment on this side, and to engage whoever you want to engage in further conversation. Thank you.